Hello everybody, welcome back to the Pop Guide. I'm your host Zoe, and today we're going to be going through a lot of new music. And yeah, this is honestly, I am so excited for this episode because if you've watched before, you know, or honestly, if you've literally ever met me before, like everyone knows, I am the biggest Taylor Swift fan. I'm such a Swiftie, like honestly pretty proud about it. Like I know she's kind of gets some hate, and she, you know, people think that she's a little too popular, a little too mainstream, but I've always loved her. I've loved her last album, The Tortured Poets Department. I think that she is one of the best songwriters. Like I love her so much. I went to the Eras tour. She's honestly amazing, and she just released a new album, The Life of the Showgirl, and she hyped this album up a lot. And a lot of her fans are a little disappointed in what actually wound up happening with the album. So I'm gonna get into a little bit of the criticism and the feedback on the album, as well as what I think of the album. So Taylor, I think that one of the main issues is that she really marketed this as like, she said this was her favorite album she's ever written. It combined folklore lyrics with 1989 production, which basically folklore is like one of her deepest albums lyric-wise, you know, very sad songs, very emotional songs. And then 1989 is like her biggest pop album of all time with like Shake It Off and Blank Space and all those big songs. So everyone was like, oh, this is gonna be such a good pop album with like amazing lyrics and that great beat that everyone loves. And also the actual title of the album, The Life of the Showgirl, people thought that it was going to kind of be like a theatery almost, like very, very loud, like very big songs, you know. And all of the graphics and all of the shoots for the album were very much so in the whole like theater realm. People thought that it was going to be very like extravagant, over the top, camp. And it was honestly like the vibe of the album did not really match that whole promotion. But so the album is receiving like pretty negative feedback overall, and people are, one, criticizing, like I just said, the theme of it and how it kind of portrayed versus like how she was marketing it. And another really big criticism is the actual lyrics of the album. And I'll go song by song in a second, but overall people just think that these lyrics are not up to par with her previous albums like Folklore, Evermore, The Tortured Poets Department. But this is my problem with that, because Taylor historically has taken criticism from her previous album and then made her new album like literally the exact like what the critics were saying, and like applying those critiques and then making her new album in line with what the people wanted. So for example, when people were saying with her second album and her first album, that Fearless and Debut, that she didn't write those, her third album was completely self-written. Speak Now, like she wrote that all by herself. She took that criticism. When people were saying that she, you know, they didn't really like the direction that she was going with Red, and it was kind of all over the place, she put together 1989, like one of the most cohesive pop albums of all time. Then when people were when she didn't get nominated for a Grammy for Reputation, she completely changed course and she went in with Lover, creating hits like Me and You Need to Calm Down, all those hits. And then when people thought that Lover was too much, then she, boom, Quarantine hit, and she came out with Folklore and Evermore, her like two saddest, slowest albums of all time. And then people wanted something different from that. She came out with Midnights, and then people didn't like Midnights. They wanted something a little more deep. She came out with Tortured Poets. And then the people complained about Tortured Poets so much. Like, I honestly don't think that she's ever received hate like an album like she did when Tortured Poets first came out. Everyone was like, all these songs sounds the same. She needs to stop working. So she worked with Jack Antonoff for a lot of her previous albums, and everyone was getting really upset with that. Like, she needs to work with someone else. She needs to bring back who she worked with for The Life of the Showgirl, Max Martin. They wanted a completely new sound. They thought that Tortured Poets was too lyrical, too long. So Taylor applied that. And in her defense, you know, she listened to them. She made it less lyrical. The songs are not as deep as they were on Tortured Poets Department. They're way more pop. It's a 12-song, you know, Jack Antonoff is nowhere to be seen on the album. Like everyone was saying, get rid of Jack, get rid of Jack. She now worked with Max Martin. It's a 12-song, clean, concise pop album. Has really none of like the really sad deep cuts like Tortured Poets had. And it's just, you know, it's kind of like a lighter, like kind of easier album than like the heavy Tortured Poets. And now everyone is like, oh, what happened to her lyrics in Tortured Poets department? We want Jack back. What happened to these songs? Like, what, the Life of a Showgirl is so surface level. Like, this is not the Taylor that we want. But it's like, she wouldn't have completely gone in a different direction if Tortured Poets got the feedback that, you know, she wanted to get. And I have always loved and supported Tortured Poets. It has been my favorite album since it came out in April 2024. I have been a Tortured Poets like defender, you know, since it came out, and I will be till the day that I die. I love that album. So when everyone was hating on it, I of course was noticing that, because I was like, wait, this album is so good. I don't know why everyone hates it so much. And now, all of a sudden, everyone is switching up, saying that they want Jack Antonoff back and that they want Tortured Poets back. And it's like, guys, you were just complaining about Tortured Poets. I don't know. But that is definitely a very main criticism right now. Really, you know, comparing the Life of a Showgirl to her past albums. But my thing is, like, yes, that's so valid to do and, like, compare an artist's discography to itself. However, like, people are really taking this to the next level, to the point where I'm like, okay, if you don't like The Life of a Showgirl, like, the great news is that all of her old albums are still up. You can still listen to all of them. And, like, the Tortured Poets department and Folklore are not going anywhere. Like, they're still there, and I'm still listening to them. But I also think that there should be a little more appreciation for The Life of a Showgirl. So, like I said, I'm going to go down the tracks right now. It's a very short, concise album. Before I get into it, the only criticism that I would have is, yes, I agree that some of the lyrics are a bit lacking compared to her old albums, especially in a few of, like, specific tracks on these. Also, I think that Max Martin's production, you know, we know him from Ariana Grande's albums that he's done, you know, some old Taylor pop songs, and his production is, like, very, like, everyone loves it. Like, it's very, very popular, and people thought that it was just a little underwhelming, and Taylor played it a little safe with The Life of a Showgirl, and, you know, people had high expectations with Max Martin. So people were just, like, in addition to being a little disappointed by the lyrics, they were like, we didn't even really get a fun produced album, which I could understand for some songs. And then the only other criticism I have for it is kind of like what I was talking about before. It just doesn't really fit, like, the Showgirl theme, some of the songs. So I feel like maybe if she, like, marketed it a little differently, people wouldn't be so disappointed. Because I even feel like the graphics and, like, the visuals for the album don't really add up with the songs, but we'll get into that now. So to start off, you know, I might just go in chronological order of the album. So the first song, The Fate of Ophelia, is probably my favorite track one of Taylor Swift of all time. This song is so good, and it was like opening this album and listening to this song first, like, it set the bar so high. This song, I mean, it's kind of crazy that the best song is the first song, because usually, like, I feel like it's a little more into the albums is where, like, her really great songs are. But yeah, it was such a good song. It's honestly, like, one of the best Taylor Swift songs, I feel like. There's so many Taylor Swift songs, but it is that good. The Fate of Ophelia, so good. And I think Taylor also thinks so too, because she made this her lead single. She has a music video for it. So the music video, great, by the way. But again, it fits very much so into the Showgirl theme, and, like, the song isn't too much like that. So The Fate of Ophelia is kind of, it's the whole album. Another big criticism is that it is literally, like, a love album to Travis Kelce, and people kind of miss her, like, breakup songs, which is valid, especially for an artist like Taylor Swift, who has so many iconic breakup songs. But also, like, I feel like people need to realize, you know, she's in a relationship now. You know, she has Travis. She's engaged to him. So yeah, she's probably not going to be writing breakup songs on this album about Travis. But yeah, The Fate of Ophelia, nonetheless, my favorite song on the album. So good, amazing track one. And I do think I have not seen criticism on The Fate of Ophelia. I've seen a lot of criticism on the album, but usually The Fate of Ophelia is like, okay, the album's pretty bad, but The Fate of Ophelia is so good. So that's pretty much been the consensus online about the title track. And then I would say, like, the first three tracks have been the fan favorites. So the next track, Elizabeth Taylor, is also a great, you know, it really kept the momentum going. We had The Fate of Ophelia, then we had Elizabeth Taylor, which is also very upbeat, you know, pop, but it's like cool. It's like different for her. I feel like it's a different sound for her, which, I mean, she has so many songs, so it's like crazy that I feel like she came up with this like different sound. I love it. And yeah, I haven't heard like as much about Elizabeth Taylor, but like The Fate of Ophelia is like the biggest one, and then like Elizabeth Taylor people love. And then Opalite is her third track, and this is like no underlying messages here. It is just completely fun, upbeat pop, you know, in love with Travis Kelce, very fun dancing, like it's not too deep, Opalite. It is so good though. So I would say those first three are the most like danceable, popped, produced album songs on the album, and that, you know, those three really set the bar high. I'm not gonna lie. Like hearing those first three songs, I was like, oh my god, if the rest of the album sounded like that, like it would have been perfection. But unfortunately, that's not what happened. You know, some songs did miss, which we'll get into later. But no, the fourth song on the album is called Father Figure. And I don't see a lot of people talking about this song online. Everyone's just talking about the first three, but I feel like we should be talking about the first four, because Father Figure is probably my second or third favorite song on the album besides The Fate of Ophelia and Elizabeth Taylor. It is also very different for her because it's about her old manager, Scooter Braun, and he, you know, he's like took her masters from her. That was that whole thing about her like reclaiming her old album. So basically her old production and her old music label took away like her masters for her first 6 albums. So from debut to Reputation, she did not own those songs. So then that is why Taylor came out with these Taylor's versions of her old albums, to then like re-record them with her new record label, her new producers, and then owned those albums. So she was like, Scooter Braun like ruined her young career in a way by making her sign like a pretty bad contract. She didn't own the rights to her music. And then last year in like May-ish, or I guess this past May, she rebought all of her old albums. She was able to buy them all back, and now she owns all of them. So even her like old albums with her old label, she owns those in addition to her Taylor's versions now. So Father Figure is pretty much about her, you know, her old label, Scooter Braun, and like she doesn't outwardly say this, but it's been inferred. And she says in the song, like, this empire belongs to me, and like she's basically taking it back from him. And I feel like the song is so powerful, and we haven't had a Taylor song since her rebuying back her masters. And I think that like this was such a powerful song. Like she never really talks about it, and she never was able to really talk about it from this perspective now that she has them all back. So like hearing this new type of music from her was just so great, like this new message that we never really had before in a Taylor song. So I think that Father Figure should be getting a little more praise. The bridge and the lyrics, like also when people are hating on the lyrics to this album, I just think that they're listening to the wrong songs, because Father Figure is so good. Like it is objectively a lyrically like well done song. I think that the bridge is great, the chorus is great. It's a great song, and it's very deep, very personal to her. She actually says that it was inspired by the TV show Succession, but I think that it's pretty like common consensus and kind of obvious that it's true. It can also be a message about her own life and reflect her own experiences. And those first 4 songs were just so good. It was like banger after banger. Listening to it was just amazing. And then it went downhill. It went downhill with Eldest Daughter, which is her 5th track. And so if you know Taylor's albums and Taylor's discography, her track 5s are like very, very famous. Like for some reason, she just always makes the track 5 on her album like one of the best ones. And so people had very high expectations for Eldest Daughter, and also the name too just kind of made it sound like it was going to be some super deep, sad song, which it was. However, like the lyrics, you know, this is where I agree with critics. The lyrics weren't there. You know, the chorus was kind of off lyric-wise, and the beat is good, and a lot of people, I feel like it's pretty split with Eldest Daughter. You either like it and are like can appreciate the song, or you can't move past the lyrics, so can't listen to the song. I feel like more people are on that side of it, but I mean, it's like you can't, it's you're not gonna like every single song. There's no album that I'm like every single song in this is amazing. Like not like there's always gonna be a skip. So I think that people are being a little dramatic about the skips on this album because like you can't expect every single song to be perfection and the exact music that you want because everyone has different tastes in music. But yeah, Eldest Daughter unfortunately did not hit for me. Maybe it's because I'm the youngest daughter, but it was not as deep as I would hope a track 5 would be. The next song on the album was Ruin the Friendship, and this song also there was kind of a drought in these next couple of tracks of like, oh, it's kind of a hard listen. But Ruin the Friendship it's a good song. I mean, it's just so unrelated. Again, this goes back to the theme of the life of a showgirl. It has nothing to do with the tour, being a musician, her life, like literally anything. It's about like high school, and it is like a sad song. If you've listened to it, I won't get too much into it, but it's just like, I was talking about this to one of my friends, and I was like, I feel like a song with that sort of messaging that really doesn't have too much to do with this like theme that she established for an album could have been, it sounded more like a Red vault track or like a Speak Now vault track. It just didn't really sound like it should be part of a short 12-song album about, like, titled The Life of a Showgirl. It just didn't really fit the vibe for this album. So I feel like it doesn't really belong there. Like, it's kind of random to me. I feel like it could have been a deluxe track, like I said, or something else could have gone in there. And then the next song is Actually Romantic. Now, this song has some lore. Basically, Taylor Swift and Charli XCX have had some rumored beef, and it seems to be a little one-sided after hearing this song. So this basically, Charli XCX, her fiance, I think husband now, was in a band with Maddie Healy from the 1975. So there's some like crossover there, and Taylor and Charli have like always, and Maddie Healy like used to date Taylor Swift, so there is some crossover there, and like there's some songs that Charli XCX put out, one called Sympathy is a Knife off of her album Brat from 2 summers ago. It's crazy. From her album Brat from summer 2025, or 2024. She had the song called Sympathy is a Knife, and people were expecting that, like suspecting that to be a diss at Taylor. She said some lyrics like, I don't want to see you like backstage at my boyfriend's show, which kind of points to Taylor, how she used to date Maddie Healy, and like Maddie Healy and Charli XCX's husband kind of worked together. Also, she is like really obsessed with, like, she's done stuff with Maddie Healy's fiance now, like his new girl. So it's obviously like kind of shading Taylor in a way. And there's just like, they go way back. I think Charli opened for Taylor on her Reputation tour, on Taylor's Reputation tour. And she said in some interviews, she was like, yeah, honestly, like, I just want to do my own thing now. I don't want to be an opener again. Like, she was kind of like giving off a negative vibe about opening for Taylor on the Rep tour. And I love Charli, love her music. I think that she's like the funniest person ever. I love Brat. I was a Brat girl, like loved that on summer 2024. But it was really funny when Taylor clapped back at all of this with Actually Romantic, because in that song, she's like, I genuinely do not care about this beef. And like, you just keep making songs about me and you keep talking about me. And she's just like, I honestly couldn't care. And it's just kind of funny, the song. I wouldn't say like Sympathy is a Knife, not to compare the two songs, but like if I'm gonna compare the two songs, Sympathy is a Knife is like an objectively better song. However, Actually Romantic is like pretty funny, and it's a good song too, like it's not bad. But yeah, so people are kind of suspecting that that's about Charli in a way. So I feel like she, besides like Kim and Kanye, she doesn't really diss a lot of artists. So that was fun. That was a fun listen. And then the next song on the album was Wish List, which people are making me really annoyed by this one, about the critiques about this, because I liked this song. And then I saw people online being like, why is she romanticizing this lifestyle? So basically what the song is talking about is how she just wants to, like, she doesn't even need all the stuff that she has. She just kind of wants to settle down with Travis and have kids with him and like live in a house together. it's pretty much what the song is about. And like, obviously she's Taylor Swift. That's not actually going to happen. She like biggest artist of all time right now. She is like broken every single record. She is topping every single chart. You know, she just had the longest tour like of all time. It feels like she was on tour for like 2 years doing 3.5-hour shows. And everyone is like, I don't know why she's romanticizing this lifestyle and like limiting herself as a woman. And it's like, it is not, like, in my opinion, it is not that deep. Like, she's not, like, this isn't actually going to happen. It's a song about Travis Kelce. It's so not that serious. And like, if you look at her, she's a very accomplished woman. She is not like diminishing those accomplishments at all in this song and like promoting that lifestyle for women at all, because she is like the example of a successful woman. So the criticism on Wishlist has been really annoying me, because like, yeah, it's one thing to criticize her lyrics and her production. Like, that's like objectively, like, you know, that's a true concern on this album that people are having. But to say that like there's those underlying messages is just kind of a little off, in my opinion. I just don't think that it's that deep. And then there's some songs like towards the end of the album, like Wood and Honey, which are both about Travis, and like they're not that significant in my opinion. They're like fine. The problem I'm encountering on this album is with her song Cancelled. Like, Taylor has like 200 plus songs, and I would say that Cancelled is probably one of her, if not her worst song. It is pretty horrible. Actually, I don't know if it's her worst song, but it's like at least top 5 like worst Taylor Swift songs of all time. But you know, every album is gonna have that, although I don't think that Tortured Poets really had one for me. In my opinion, like Folklore and Evermore didn't really have one. But like the big albums with like the pop hits, like Lover has some misses, you know. It's like common for an artist with like 200 plus songs to have some misses like that. But yeah, Cancelled is pretty horrible. And yeah, it's becoming a very big meme online, that song. But it just makes me annoyed when like those specific, like even the lyrics from Eldest Daughter and then the lyrics from Cancelled are the ones that blow up online, because then everyone just associates the Taylor album with those lyrics and those songs, when there are like other songs, like I said in the beginning of the album, and even Father Figure is super good. Like, there are way deeper cuts on the album. But yeah, just no one seems to be listening or caring. And then the last song of the album, The Life of a Showgirl, that was featuring Sabrina Carpenter. That was a pretty fun song. I didn't mind it. I mean, Sabrina sounds great on it, and people were saying that they almost wish that Sabrina released it. Because I don't know, I feel like Taylor is just such a big artist that it's like, I kind of like having like her own songs. And also, even like on a 12-song album, I feel like I want as much Taylor as I can possibly get. Even like in the Eras Tour, when she would bring out a guest and like sing a Sabrina Carpenter song or like sing a Gracie Abrams song for one of her surprise songs, it's like, no, like, we're here for you, Taylor. Like, we want your stuff. And I love Sabrina. I'm one of Sabrina's biggest fans, but it's like, I feel like when you're making a 12-song album, like, we want, you know, as much songs of Taylor as possible. But it was a good song, nonetheless. I really enjoyed it. It was kind of more what I was expecting for, with the whole vibe of the Showgirl. I mean, it is the title track, so it makes sense that it lived up to it. But overall, like, I don't think this album is as bad as people are making it out to be. I think that the people that are saying that it's horrible just honestly, like, have not given it the time to like really appreciate the good songs on the album. And I think it's kind of unfair to say that an album as a whole is bad because there's like some bad songs on the album. Like, for example, I really don't like some songs on the Lover album, but there are some songs on that album that are like my favorite Taylor Swift songs of all time. And I kind of feel a similar way to The Life of a Showgirl. And I will never say that Lover is a bad album, because I can like appreciate the good songs on that album. But yeah, the same thing with The Life of a Showgirl. There's definitely some songs that are skips, but that is like with every album. And I also think that it is just a little unfair that like people are really criticizing this album in comparison to Tortured Poets, when, you know, in 2024 she was getting so much hate for Tortured Poets, and people are now wanting Jack back, and before they were begging for her to work with a new producer and getting very frustrated that all of her songs were sounding the same. So I guess overall, criticism And like everyone's allowed to, you know, critique an artist, critique art. That is like the point of a fan base and like having all these social media discussions, and it's like so great to see people like interacting and talking about pop culture. It's what I love. All I do is talk about pop culture. I love it. But it does get to a point where it's like, guys, it's just an album, you know? So I feel like my overall message for today is just to enjoy music that we like, and music that we don't like, you know, so easy to skip, so easy to not listen to. And it's fun to, you know, make jokes about it sometimes, like the memes I've been seeing about cancels are very funny. But, you know, I have no problem, like, going in my AirPods and turning on the Fate of Ophelia and enjoying the life of a showgirl. And I'm hoping, I am predicting that in a year or two, if she releases another album, which I don't know how long she's going to take to release another album after this reaction, but I am predicting that people are going to be mourning the life of a showgirl the second her next album comes out, and saying that they want Max Martin back, and that they want a pop album again, and that they love the Fate of Ophelia, and why doesn't she have another lead single like that? Why isn't she doing press like she's doing right now? And I just bet that that is going to happen again, because I feel like people just keep switching up on her, keep switching up on my girl. But yeah, I mean, I feel like I pretty much spent the entire time talking about Taylor, but I feel like that is the most pressing news right now, and especially from a Swiftie who has pretty much listened to all of her albums, I feel very well versed in the topic and really wants to chime in on my opinions. So yeah, with that, I guess thank you so much for listening. I hope that maybe this will inspire you to listen to the life of Showgirl and maybe agree with some of my opinions. But yeah, I'm excited to see how in a couple months and in a couple of years the reaction to this album will change a little bit. So yeah, with that, I'm your host, Zoe Bulgaris, and thanks for watching. Bye!